Clock. Okay, and it's recording. Hey everyone, welcome to today's motion media workshop. My name is Desmond Du. I'm an MFA student here at SCAD Savannah. I'm doing motion media design, and this is the last workshop that I'm doing this quarter. Today's workshop will be Intro to Kinetic Typography. So if you're a basic user of After Effects, this workshop is for you. I'll go through things pretty slow. You can ask questions in the chat panel. And feel free to stop me if I'm going too fast. If you have a question, yeah, just go ahead and ask verbally or through the chat panel. And let's see. So I'm just going to share my screen now. Before I actually get into kinetic typography, I just want to show you guys what's the possibility of like kinetic type rather than dive into the workshop itself, right? So one of the project I want to share with you guys is, let's see. So there, if you go to my website, which I'll share later, I used to work at Warner Media Studios, and I used to work a lot with Turner Classic Movie, and they work a lot with. I had to work a lot with kinetic typography stuff, and that's where actually I get good. So apparently, if you want to work in broadcast, if your portfolio has a lot of kinetic type, it's actually a good, a good bonus. So this project actually employs quite a good experiment with typography for broadcast usage. I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to somewhat break it down what I did. Lower the volume to half. Okay, and here we go. Okay, cool. Oh, I didn't. There's no volume. Oh no, I did not turn on the sound. Sorry, guys. Let me play that again.
Come on, girls! Let's show them how we do it!
Hello, gorgeous.
Snap out of it!
This is some epic stuff.
Okay, cool. So that was a piece that I did in for Turner Classic Movie. One thing about motion design, motion media, or kinetic type itself is that it's never like you need to when you go out and graduate and you work in the industry, right? You're not just made kinetic type for as its own. What I mean to say is that you're always implementing it in different places onto video, say broadcast, for advertising. My website is kind of too wide, so right now it's not looking good. So when you're crafting a portfolio, you shouldn't think about just the type itself, but where it will appear, right? So you can see when I started this project, right, what the editor gave me was this, just like where the text should go, in a way he was doing some sort of animatic, and then I kind of need to finesse it, right? But we're mostly here for the kinetic type part, so I explain more on that. So when I began the kinetic typography, right, I do experiments. I don't just like animate it and put it on. That's it, right? I need to kind of know what works first. So I always often create like this. I call them type sketches, right? I'll create like iterative design. Like you create one, you duplicate it, and then you change a different setting, even if it's very subtle, so that at least you can do a A/B contrast. So this is just a sample of what you can do with type animation in After Effects. There's no special plugins here. It's just all like keyframes and text itself, right? And this is the final animation. Okay, we won't learn exactly how to do all of this, but I'm just showing you the possibility. There's many ways of working with text animation, but I'll show you the basics that kind of will help you work with type animation. All right. So with that, and also just to drop a resource in case I forget, I do tutorials on YouTube, on my YouTube channel called No Stick Creative. So I think for a while I did like a series on type animation. I'll drop the link now. So before before I forget, or before if you guys need to leave halfway. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. Type animation. Yeah. So you can let me paste that in so you guys can see it. So I cut in the first. I'm somewhat covering the first tutorial you see on the top right hand side. I mean the first on the playlist, and the first two actually. But you can see this is what you can do with text animation from my tutorials. But anyway, enough of that promotion about my YouTube channel. Let's get into After Effects. All right. Okay, so let's begin with creating a composition and just creating some type animation, right? And so I am just going to, well, since there's some people who haven't used, who are not so familiar with After Effects, I'm just gonna, verbally say out the hotkey so you guys are not lost. Okay, so let's create a new composition by hitting Command N. The shortcut is Control on Windows, so Control N. I'm going to call this demo. First thing I want to do is to go to my type tool on the menu bar over here, and I can type stuff in, right? So right now, and then you have a character panel, which I can drag, and I'm going to dock it here, or I can actually right click on dock panel so I can see it, you guys can see it closer, right? So let me just zoom in with Command plus. Actually, just to make my life easier, I'm going to turn on this app called KeyCast. So you guys should be able to see my shortcuts over here. I'll put it on the bottom left. So you will see what I can press, right? Okay, so there's many ways to create text, right? But I just want to show you guys different, like there's two ways actually. Okay, first is you use the text tool and you click on it, and this creates a point text. Right now, the paragraphing is set to a right align. So let me switch it back to left. Thing about point text, similar to InDesign and Illustrator, is that it just goes on forever, right? There's no line break. So if I just keep typing on, even if it exits the screen, right, it will still be one line as a point text. But if I want to change the paragraph text, I can right click. Now, what you want to do is actually, hold on a sec, let me just commit to this. With the text tool selected, right click on the text layer, right? And then convert to paragraph text. So if I click it on the text layer now, you can see that a bounding box appear that allows me to change the size of the box. So you can see it kind of wraps the text around the box now, right? So just keep that in mind sometimes, like, oh, why is my text layer not like, why is there no text box? Because you're using a point text. You have to convert to a paragraph text. Okay. And usually how we begin to animate, let's say, text animation. Let me just scooch my zoom panel so I can see my notes. Usually how we begin to animate text is, let's just say, I have this text called Be Curious. Not sure if you guys watch the series, Ted Lasso. It's on Apple TV. Really good stuff. Today's tutorial is based on Ted Lasso. Okay, so okay, now that I typed my text, so this is text I want. I don't really want to use a paragraph text, so I can just use my text to right-click point text. Right, I don't like the extra bounding box because we're working with just one line. How we usually animate text animation is first we go to our text layer and we open up the drop down and we go to animate. So for example, I want this text to go from bottom up, right? I'll put position. Generally, when we animate stuff, what we do is before we get to that, we want to animate this one line, right? Moving up and down, we'll use the position property, right? Pressing P. We can get to property by pressing P. Click on keyframe, move down about a few seconds, and we move it down, right? So it moves like that. Okay, so generally people use animate like this, but when you're working in text animation, it's a little bit different. I'll show you why. So I'm gonna just trim the composition size, but with by just like going to my composition setting, hitting Command K, and switching to about 4 seconds. Okay, cool. Now we can get to animating the text layer. Okay, so like I say, right, we already added the animator. Let's just redo that again. We're gonna go animate, position. Where is it? Position over here. And similarly to what I did just now, I will, you would want to, you'd be tempted to keyframe it like that, and then move down 300 pixel, right? It works, but here's the thing, the point of text animator is not just animate, this text layer as like one big piece, right? And we want to animate by character, by word, or by lines or paragraph, right? That's so that's the kind of why that's the reason why you want to use text animator. So instead of keyframing this position, what you want to do is just turn that off and set it about 300 pixels down. When you want to do text animation, you want to use the range selector. So if I was to use the range selector now, right? If you notice on the over here, if I move the end, you can see that each character is pushing up, right? Because it's actually if you notice over here, can you see that? This line over here is actually defining a range. See? So as the range becomes smaller, it is, it's not getting affected, right? It's not getting affected by this position of position offset of 300, and that's why it's going back to the original position. But when the range selector is bigger, right, you can see that it is going back down. So I'll explain more about how this works in a bit, but let's just get into the animation part first. Okay, so like I say, if you want to animate this from bottom up, right, you can animate the end depending on which direction you want to go, right? If you want to animate it from the text to go from the right hand side to go up, or the left hand side. In this case, we want to do it left hand side. So what we want to do is to animate the start value. It's a little bit tricky to wrap your head sometimes about for this one. So let me see. Yeah, I believe it's you set the start to. Okay, I'll just keyframe. Let's keyframe the start at 100 first, and then let's go down about 1 second and set it to 100. Okay, so if we play it now, right? But I want it to be in reverse direction. So what I need to do is I can select both of these keyframe. Oh, wait, I can set the end to 100, I believe. Yeah, this is the confusing part because we're just trying to reverse the direction. In that case, I can reverse the keyframe here by time reverse. Okay. All right, there we go. So basically, just to recap that, we animate the start from 0 to 100 and make sure the end value is 100. Okay, I guess I should have touched the 100 value in the beginning. Okay, so you can see that the start, if this is the range, the start range is basically pushing, and I'm going to go frame by frame, is pushing to the right hand side, right? So the range is becoming smaller, so that's why it returns to original position. So let's see. Let me play this. Okay, so this is good, right? Now that we actually animate our first text animation, but it's really ugly, as you can see. It's just like it just popping up real fast. There's no ease. It's not smooth at all. And this is like a common mistake, not mistake, but like a rookie's mistake when you do type animation. There's a couple more settings you kind of need to use when you want to make the animation smooth, right? So if you go into the range selector, open it up, right? And you go under advanced and you can see all this bunch of settings. You don't really need to use all of them. You just need to know which one matters the most. So the one that's going on right now is we need to use is called shape. So there's some sort of interpolation going on between this like start position to the end position. In this case, it's like a linear. It's very linear. It's called a square. It's using a square profile, right? So that's why there is no ease. So to kind of make it smooth, what we need to do is just to change this to ramp up. But you get this staircase over here. When we use this like a shape profile, right? What we want to do is not to animate the range, the start or the end, but to animate the offset. So I can actually turn off the keyframe here, right? for the start and actually animate offset. And you actually want to animate it from -100. And then let's go down a few frames and animate it to the 100. Now let's see the difference now. Suddenly it's a little bit smoother, right? You can actually see the gradation. Actually not so bad. And then you say like, okay, but what if I want it to be a little bit smoother, right? You want it to be fast at first and slow down at the start. So that's when you need to kind of work with this thing called ease high and low. This is very tricky to wrap your head around. So I will, but I'll show you how it works first. Then we go into the theory. So let's just say if I want this to go fast, I will actually increase the ease low. So if I were to set this to 80, ease low at 80, right? You can see that it's fast at first and then it slows down at the beginning. And I can even like increase the ease high to be 20. So there's a little ease at the back. Suddenly, this looks a little bit better. So what exactly is going on with this ease high, ease low? All right. Let me actually increase the text size so we can see it clearer. So I just hit Command T. So that's why the paragraph. I hit Command T to switch to text tool, and automatically the character panel shows up as well. Okay, so to understand this easing of the text, we need to actually go back to basic to a circle, right? For example, over here, I have a circle. Let me actually, this one over here, this white circle, okay? And I'm gonna press get to the keyframes. So this circle by default, right? As it go, it's linear. So this is what we were doing just now. If you look at the keyframe for this layer, this circle, is actually there is no interpolation. There's no ease in or ease out. So ease in is kind of basically how After Effects kind of change the speed of an animation over time. Ease in refers to going in fast and then slowing down at the beginning. Ease out refers to starting slow and then speeding up at the end. So here's an example of ease in, right? Yeah, why is it taking so long to render? It's just circles. You can see that, right? Compared to the linear is just like very straightforward. The ease in speeds up first and slow down. Okay, let's compare it to ease out. So the ease out is the green one over here, right? So if you look at it, it's kind of slow at the start. You can see it can't even catch up with the linear one, the one in the middle, and then it kind of speeds up at the end. Okay, but there is also just using ease itself, right? Which is just so I actually can put this as red. I'm going to turn off the linear and show you the difference. So you can also ease in and out at the same time. It's just called ease. So it's going to speed up. It's going to speed up fast, and then after that, kind of slow down at the end as well, right? So it's a best of both worlds, best of this ease in and out. Okay, so how does that apply to text and this text animate the range selector and the ease high and low? If you go over here, let's see, where is my? So I have over here, I have created a few samples of what we just made, right? The Be Curious, Not Judgmental. Now there's a lot going on, so I'll just solo a couple, the first few layers. Okay, so let's look at ease out first. What's going on? So if I were to go into this this text animation, I'm gonna press UU to open up the settings that I changed. If I open up the advanced, I have changed the ease high to be 100, ease low, and 0. That's what this number is all about on the left hand side, right? This is ease high, ease low. I actually place it here so you guys can see and compare. So if I were to play it now, so this is moving in about 250 pixel in the x-axis, right? So we can compare the others. So if I play it now, notice like the ease high is 100, and then the ease low is 0. So it's coming in slow, but then it's ending real fast, right? That's our equivalent of our ease out of our green circle over here, as I show over here. Now, if we were to reverse it, if we want to do an ease in, okay, so I'm going to show you ease in. Now the value itself is 0 and 100. So I go to just to show you the settings over here. The ease low is 100. Okay. So if I play it and you compare, so slow. Okay, you can see it's faster, right? If you notice at the for the bottom one, it's faster first and then it's slower at the end. This animation is pretty fast, so you can't really notice the subtle ending. But you can see, so that's how we kind of change the speed profile of our animation. And then, so I created a bunch of like in betweens, other text animation with the same different settings, right? For example, 0 0, how does it look like? So this is like just ease itself. There's nothing going on. If it's 0 0, right? Oh, why is it so slow? I guess because I'm running Zoom at the same time. Okay, let me reduce the resolution to a third. Okay, so now I play it. It's still really slow. So strange. Okay, but at least you can appreciate it frame by frame while it's rendering. You can see the difference, right? You can see the ease out, right? It's like it's faster at the end when you see the letters just coming all together. Let's play it now. Let's see a difference now, right? So which means to say, if I want, just to kind of recap, right? If I want my animation, my text animation to come in, animate in fast and slow down, then I need to use a higher ease low value and maybe a lower ease high value. Ease out, ease high value. Okay, let me say that. A high ease, a high ease low value and a low ease high value. Oh my god. Yes, this can get confusing. Even if you read the documentation, it's very hard to wrap your head around. But it's just you just gotta practice it. Okay, let's come back to our demo over here. Now that we understand the concept, let's see how we implement this. Okay, so I'm over here and my ease high and low. Like I say, right? If I want to come in fast, I can set it to say 90, and then maybe ease high, you can set it to be 30. You can also go in a negative value depending on where you want, just like that, right? And then if you think that, oh, I don't really want it to be like, it's kind of too low, right? You don't need to change any keyframe. All you have to do is come back to your position over here, right, under the range selector, and just change it to say about 150. And you can see, the animation is still retained. The speed of the animation is retained, but we did, even though we changed the value. So that's why I love working with text animator. In a way, I call it's procedural. You can actually turn this off as well if you want to do. You can duplicate these animators, right? And then you can turn them on, and you can change the settings. Say maybe you want to move in the x-axis instead, or in the both axes, and see what happens. But no, we won't do that because that looks like some sort of PowerPoint animation. Okay, so maybe something like that will work. So you can create multiple variations. So you can also rename these animators to say, instead of animator 2, you can say, let's just click on it, hit return or enter, and call it X motion X. No, animate in underscore X, whatever you want to call it, just to kind of give you an idea. And instead of just the position, you can also do other properties as well: rotation, scale, opacity, even color. So if you want to do that, all we have to do is with the range selector group selected, go into this right hand side, click add, select the property that you want. So we can actually add one by one opacity, rotation, or we can click on or transform property. Okay, and for example, if I want this to scale from smaller to bigger, I can just set my scale over here to be 20%, like that. Okay, I don't really like coming in from the X, so I'm gonna switch that. Okay, so this is more interesting, right? Or at least more pleasant to look at. Okay, so I just changed the value to 20, and you can see After Effects is just slowly turning off the scale value change and have it going back to its original size, right? And let's just try other property. Let's try rotation. Let's set it to be, say, 45 and see what happens. Okay, that works as well. Okay, and next, let's try opacity. Let's set it to about 20 and see what happens. You can even set it to 0 if you want to just have it from, be completely invisible at the start. Just like that. Okay, so, and thing is, once you're satisfied with a text animation like this, you can actually save it out as a preset. You don't always have to recreate all these settings perfectly. That's what I like. That's my common. That's a how to say a best practice. Yes, it's a best practice when working text animator is always to save them out and reuse your text animation. So to do so, select the text animator that you want. So over here I'm selecting this animate in. Maybe I'll just call this custom motion. You can call it whatever you want. Go to animation, save animation preset. It's gonna load, and let me just save it to today's workshop. Let's call it motion, custom motion text. Okay, that's not very very descriptive. Text motion demo. All right, so the next time, right, the thing is it'll be saved out as like a ffx file. So I'm gonna actually bring it up and show you guys how it looks like before we actually use it. So it's a ffx file. So this file is the preset file, which you can actually send to your friend, or your friend can send to you and you can use it. So let's just say when you begin a new project, right? And hit Command N, and you can say type in, say, let me just say beautiful text animation, and you're like thinking like, oh, I don't have time to animate. I have so much assignments or so much research paper to write. Just need to quickly do a text animation. So you can just actually go to recent animation presets, because we saved that out. It's over there. So you click on it. You can see it has been applied onto it. Right. So with this, you can actually maintain, a consistency if you have multiple text animation. Let's just say you're just making title cards or some sort of explainer videos, with text in between. So let me just try another one. Repeat text. So they will all have the same animation. And let's just say if your friend sent that animation to the text animation file to you, I mean the FFX file to you, right? And you don't have it in the recent animation preset because you weren't the creator. What you can do instead is apply animation preset, go to the folder where you have the FFX file, and apply apply onto the text layer. So right now it's not showing up because it's basically there's two sets of text animator on it. That's why it's overlapping. So it will kind of add on to it. You can see that right now I have 4 of them. Oh, wait, there's 5 of them. I must have applied extra. So let's delete that. Okay, so I can actually apply animation preset, select FX file. You can see it added that custom motion. And notice that the keyframes that for the offset value, if I press U, is on where my playhead is on. So you got to make sure, best practice is to go to the start of timeline and then apply the animation preset, but it's okay to just drop in, move the keyframes manually to the start. At this point, do you guys have any question? No question. Okay, let's do a recap. All right, just so everyone follow along. So in the beginning, what we was trying to achieve was that we wanted to have a beautiful text animation with ease in. So we work with this thing called text animators, which we can create by going to the text layer and adding on the property that we want. We can add on multiple properties other than just position, right? And to animate the position, the text by itself, right? What we did was to make it pretty, we changed the shape to square. And then after that, we animate the offset value instead of the start and end value. So this makes it smoother. And finally, to kind of stylize the motion or make it smoother, we play with the ease and high and low value. And the ease high and low value is based on the principle on the ease in and ease out when we animate normally in After Effects, right? Okay, so that's part one. Let me see if okay. I think yeah, I still need to cover a few more things. Aside from just character, right now we're animating by each character, and then you guys might be thinking, what if I want it to be by words instead? Well, you can just change it to animate based on words, just like that. So it's gonna just animate it like that. So it looks cooler, right? And then you can also do lines. See, so we can. Let me just pause this animation first, and also save. Switch this to lines. Let's just say I have multiple. Let me just copy and paste this. Hit return, paste, return, paste. Say I have 4 lines and see what happens. See? We can animate per line instead as well. So the text animator is very flexible. You don't really need to change a lot of settings. You can get started within minutes to make something pretty. Okay? All right. Actually, this is a good place to kind of move on to the next step. Moving on, right? There's more to just like animating the properties, just the transform properties. Transform property refers to like position, scale, rotation, opacity, right? There are ways to kind of stylize the animation with other range selector. So if you go to text over here and you click, and then we can animate colors as well, but we can also animate blur too. So if I go to this animator, let me say click on this animator, because I already have a range selector, a text animator. So I can just add in, I can select the text animator and add in blur, right? And I can set the blur to say about 30. See, just like that. And let's just add one more property. Let's add, yeah, fill color. Let's keep it at red and see what happens. You can see it's starting off red and it's going back to its original like state of being white, right? So there's many possibilities that you can work with. But besides the range selector, there are like 2 more selector we need to know. One of them is called the wiggly selector, and you can actually add in. Let's just say we're gonna create a new text animator. Let's add in all transform properties, and you can see that there's a range selector here. We can actually delete the range selector, and we can add in a new selector called wiggly. So if I open this up, and then if I play it now, let me actually turn off the text animator and see what happens. So nothing's going on because right now my position, all my properties are set to be 0. So if I set this to be a 50, right, you can see suddenly, whoa, my characters are like jumbled up. So the wiggle selector behaves like the expression wiggle. For those who work with, we have used expression before. Wiggle basically randomly shakes the property of a layer. So in this case, it's randomly shaking the X because we have set the property to be 50, right? So if I want it to be in the Y-axis, I can set it to be 50 as well in the Y-axis over here, right? And now it looks like a mess, okay? And then you're thinking, how do I change the speed or even the intensity, or maybe I don't want it. Yeah. So or the based on the speed is actually over here. We go on /seconds. If I want to be faster, I'll increase this, say 10, and see how that goes. If I want to be slower, maybe 0.1. Okay, so it's kind of like floating now, right? The correlation refers to best way I can describe it is like how much they're affected to based on its closeness. So you can see right now it's a higher value now. The B and E are like they're all like kind of sticking closer together in as opposed to like a separate character on its own. So it's still retaining its like the word itself. So if I set it to be about 0, you can see it's like completely free, right? They're not like very attached. The temporal phase and spatial phase, you don't really use that much. It's basically just to kind of offset it to a nice position. I usually don't use that. Random C generates a different form of another variation. So you can cycle through different designs just like that, right? So that's the wiggle selector, and just like the range selector, you can switch this to reduce the scale to be 50. You can see that even let me actually reduce the position to 0 so we can just see the scale now. You can see the text are just jumbled up. I mean, not jumbled up, but just like in random scale. Okay. Okay, let's increase the wiggle to be 1 second so it looks a little bit more exciting. And then we can change the rotation as well. Say we want to be a 50, right? And we can do the same thing for opacity as well. So it's gonna just randomly, shake between 0 to 100 because of the wiggle selector. Now, there's one more property we didn't cover. Well, it's more like one part of the property that we not cover. That is the z-axis. Text animation or like text layer can actually be 3D for each character. So if you go to animate, you can actually click on enable per character 3D. So this makes this like each letter 3D layer, right? But it's all within this text layer over here. So if you notice now, the position now has one more value for us to input, the z value. So that's the depth. So I can set this to be about 600. So it's basically just now. So now it's just like going back and forth randomly. So let's wait for it to play. Right? Looks pretty interesting, eh? Any questions? Are you guys still with me? Okay. Well, thanks, patience, for the acknowledgement. Appreciate. Okay, so let's move on to our last selector. Our last selector is called expression selector. It's one of my favorite one because I love using code in my expression. But don't worry, you don't need to know JavaScript. You don't need to have background in coding to actually do this. All right. So I'm gonna turn off this this animator now. I'll rename it, call it wiggle, so we can actually remember. Okay, this is range, and the last one, right? We have a multiple this block of text now. Um, but what because right now, previously when we're working in range selector, it's all like kind of affecting in one motion, right? It's either going from point A to point B. But what is in that sense that it's going from left to right. Or what if I want the first line to go from left to right, but the second line to be right to left? Would I create two text animator? How does that work? Well, we can actually, use one single text animator to do all that. So let's first create a text animation, say position. And let's just say I want them to drift in the x-axis, right? Like that, but in alternating line. So instead of using the range selector, what I can do is delete that and rename this to call exp, to call it as expression selector. I'm going to add a selector called expression. Okay, so you can see, well, there's something already going on, right? It's staggering because that by default, there's an expression that's already been applied. You don't see it because you need to open up the amount and you can see that, this is expression. So the selected value refers to this percentage over here, and each text has an index to kind of for After Effects to recognize what character is it. So if this character over here, B, is the character 1, and then character 2 is E, character 3 is C, right? And then if you do the math, right, that's why the position, the index of the character divided by the amount of text will create this cascading effect. You don't need to use this, honestly. This is by default, like the expression After Effects gives you. So I don't use it at all. But well, the expression we're gonna use is, right? It is okay. Now that I shouldn't say it was simple, but when I type it out, it does look simple because it's just one line. So we're gonna use a conditional statement. Okay, so if hopefully you guys have some knowledge of coding, the conditional saying statement basically is saying if this happened, then do this. If not, do that. So in this case, I want to type in if the text index, right? Oops, and make sure it's case sensitive. So you got to make sure the I is capitalized, and then I'm going to put a percentage sign. So this is a modular operator. So you guys know the division, right? When you divide something, say 5 divided by 2, there's that. Let me just actually bring it up. You guys know the symbol, division symbol, which is used to divide stuff. Okay, but sometimes when we're dividing, if we're just dividing to a whole number, say if 5 divided by 2, if it can't, there's a remainder. If you only want whole number, there is a remainder. 5 divided by 2, there's going to be a remainder of 1. What if I just want the value of one of the remainder? So that's when we use the modulus operator, which is the percentage sign. 5 percentage sign 2 will give you the remainder. So let's try that with just to kind of go through the motion. If 5 percentage sign 3, right, the remainder is 2. Okay. So, but what if it's 5? 5 percentage pies will yield 0, right? So using that concept, we can actually determine odd and even number using this percentage sign. If I type in percentage signs 2, right, it's going to, because every other number is going to be it's going to be the remainder is going to be 0 because it's divided by 2. There's no remainder. I mean, not remainder. There's yeah. Actually, let me repeat that. When every other number, when divided by 2, will always yield no remainder, right? So the value always be 0. But on the other hand, other values will always yield a remainder of 1 because it's odd number. So this way we can differentiate odd and even lines of text. Now, and then subsequently, right? If this happens to, so as I was saying in the conditional statement, if this happens to be 0, right? So I can put in, to kind of make a condition, I need to use 2 equal signs. So if happen to be 0, I need to type in, well, then 0, then else 100. Okay, let's see. So I typed something wrong over here. Yeah, it's supposed to be a semicolon in between. So right now you can see it's jumbled up because I'm basing on characters. I'm supposed to use by lines. So you can see now it's going in the opposite direction. So when I previously, to recap, previously I introduced that each character has an index number, but it's based on this thing, right? Based on which character, words, or line we choose. So we change the line. So now After Effects is recognizing as this is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. That essentially becomes the text index. 1 divided by 2 will always yield a result of 1. So it's an odd number, all right? And then as for the second one, all right, the second line, line 2 divided by 2 will yield a remainder of 0. So that's why it's even, it moved to the left-hand side. And the same goes for alternating lines. So if I were to copy this and just have more of them, you can see that it repeats because it's just odd and even. So now that we have this, we can, let's say we want it to kind of drift in alternating direction. We can actually just keyframe here. Let's just go from, let's go from 0 actually. Go from 0, and then we increase it. Did I animate the right thing? Okay, there we go. Let me play it. Okay. So that's a little bit too blurry. Play it. I hope I didn't lose you guys with the coding. Let's see. Yura had a question about toggling the 3D mode. Yes, it can be toggled with the modes. But usually I just do it within with just over here. Because if you once you toggle this enable per character 3D, it's going to, let's see, where is it, switches. It's going to be there's going to be a two 3D cubes over here, right? So that's when you know like a text layer is 3D. But here's the thing: it's like when you clicking on it, there's only one cube. So which means to say like it doesn't make the character 3D. So you have to kind of animate enable per character 3D. Let me actually try that. See? Yeah, so you can't use the modes. You can use the modes to turn them off, but you have to turn them on with the enable per character 3D. Oh, I didn't see Serena's question previously. Can you change the pivot for rotation? Yes, I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, but back to over here. Okay, so you can see, okay, using the expression selector, it is, oh, it's not playing. I don't know why it's so slow. But let me just slowly, yeah, move my cursor. You can see that it is drifting. Okay, only the second line is not moving, right? But the right line is the odd numbered line are moving to the right hand side. That's because over here we put 0, so it basically does nothing at all. We're supposed to put -100, and that's when it will kind of make it go in the reverse direction. Yeah. Oh, I know why it's so slow. It's because of 3D. Let me turn it off. Yeah. There we go. So if I play it now. Yeah, the thing about using 3D text layer is that it can be really slow. See? So just by using one text animator, I can actually control, like, also control the direction with to which where things move as well. Actually, I'm gonna set this 0 and then set this to, yeah, be like that. Is there a good okay, Yuria has a question. Is there a good resource to find expression formulas? In the past, I used a couple from forum search result, but they were a little difficult to understand. Yeah, there is. There's plenty of resources. So usually it's better to write them down. So if you go to formulas, let's see. Well, you can go to my website. So if you go to my website, docs.nosleepcreative, you can see a bunch of expression. It's kind of like my notebook on like how to use expression. So that's why I say like writing stuff down is the best. It's best to write your own expression. So I have one for like text animator. Oh, looks like I didn't fill it up. So this has been kind of I haven't touched this in a while. But for a while when I was learning expression, I would write all this code just to see my understanding. So some of this I think most of this don't apply to text, or some do, but this is mostly applying to the normal layers. So just keep that in mind. Oh wait, I do have a type in text one. There you go. Yeah. So the one we just used was I'm not sure if I have it here because it's a simple. It's a pretty simple. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the expression we used was this one. If text index percentage sign 2 0 else 100, but in this case we use -100. Yeah. So there's many things you can do. You got to go explore what this you can do with expression. And if you want to learn more about expression, well, this whole workshop isn't about expression, but since someone asked, I just have to at least show you guys where to learn expression. Yeah, also on my website, getting started with expression, in the tab, you can find the expression. This is kind of like a library of resources to help you learn expression. I think the best one I've seen so far was, I don't think it's here, because this has been I haven't updated in a while, but yeah, this is pretty good. After Effects tricks. It's actually by one of a famous motion designer from Ordinary Folk. So this is open to the public and everyone can actually see. You can actually just use it. Just look at what expression they use. So it's just a spreadsheet. See, writing expression doesn't have to be like having your own website. Even Google Sheets is enough. So on the left hand side, they put shortcuts. On the right, on the middle columns, they put the expression and what it does. See, like wiggle, exponential scale, so on and so forth. And on the right hand side, they put useful scripts. Yeah, pretty cool, eh? So I always recommend, students or anybody to learn, to kind of build your own library. You shouldn't just rely on the forum. I mean, forum is good, but it's like sometimes you forgot where the forum thread was, and you can, yeah, you lose access to that knowledge. So it's better to write your own, to collect them. So all the expression I write over here, I don't write them all by myself. When I starting out, I start copying the expression that I found, because they were helpful and I wanted to test my understanding. So you have to build your own library. Okay, so hopefully that answer your question, Yuria. But yeah, so this just now applies to, just to wrap up this part over here. This just now applies to just position. What I like about this is that you can also add in colors. So instead of, you can color each even line differently, even number line differently. So I'm gonna drop in the fill RGB and see it's red. If I want to change the original color and change it over here, I'll just change it to say something like that. Yeah. So okay, the and then I guess just a teaser, right? Just to show you what happens when you actually do everything right and actually use this for production, for actually, how to say, making works to publish. Um, so what I did was, for a recent project called Commotion, we made a bunch of text animator. So I'm gonna show it to you. So I'm gonna just apply this preset, and it pretty much does everything on its own. So this animation just does like that. Okay, I have the settings on the left hand side. I guess one of my teammate, Brenda, uh, is here, so she know what this is, right? So basically, I was we're on the same animation team, and as a lead animator, I designed this like preset, and I distributed it to my team, and they pasted it onto the text animation. So they didn't need to animate the text itself. I just told them to place it on. So let's play that. Let's wait for it to render. See, just like that. And the implementation of it, if you go to our website called, oh no, go to Instagram, and then you go to our website. So for those who are MOMI majors, I'm sure you guys know what this is. For those who are non-MOMI majors, we have this creative conference, our own internal departmental creative conference / career fair called Commotion, and it's in like, well, 14 days. So the animation here, right, it's from my preset, and we basically gave the graphic design team, and they just apply onto it. So you can see that even in the absence of like me helping, like doing the animation, they're still using my tool to speed up the process. So that's my role as a animator, right? It's kind of giving people tools to make animation. And well, since I am at it, I might as well promote Scat Commotion. So what is Scat Commotion? So this Scat Commotion is an event that's open to all Scat students, and you get to basically interview with kind of companies who comes and visit. My website's my computer is slowing down really bad. I think it's because of the Zoom. So that's our website, Scat Commotion. I'll paste it onto the chat, and you can take a look at the wonderful stuff we have done so far. So the event is all virtual this year. It used to be on ground, but because of pandemic, it's like virtual. And let's see. So the companies, so basically companies, about, I think we have 40 over companies, maybe more than that. So all these companies you see attending Commotion, well, virtually, but back then when it was on ground, they came in person to Savannah. So they'll do 15-minute portfolio reviews. There's often a chance to get opportunity to get internship or employment, employment offers as well. Okay, So there's VFX company, there's like motion design shops, there's UX. I think there's a bit more. I think there's also advertising and kind of like agencies. There's also like coming to visit, um, and you can check out our team's work. The team who's responsible for making all the wonderful animations stuff over here. So yeah, so that's Scat Commotion. Do check out our live event on the day itself, which is coming in 2 weeks. Okay, so this concludes the workshop. It's just nice, 3 p.m. Do you guys have any questions? I can cover extra stuff if you guys want. No? I mean, well, yes. Well, please leave when you are, if you have no question. Thank you for coming. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.